Hello everyone. Hope you can see us. Let me get close to this place. Okay.
Why the gap? Why the gap? Why the gap?
Why the gap? No,
Yeah.
you need to come.
Okay, I need to come. Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
I see now. So I didn't need this after all.
Hello everyone. Today is our 14th wedding anniversary, and it's been a very wonderful day. We took time to sort of reflect on our journey so far, and how we started and how we've come here.
Yeah.
So we just felt we could just come and share some things around what we've been through.
What you
up,
did.
up to this point.
What have you been through?
Yeah. Up to this point. So how do we start?
14 years since over a decade.
Yes, actually. Over a decade.
So
14 years is a long time.
yeah. So it all started in the month of May.
Yeah.
28 May. Though to step you back a bit, we already were friends before we met.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know. Would it be okay to say that the friendship helped?
Definitely.
Because if I say that, some people have also, you can actually meet a friend or meet someone and you develop friendship. So
yeah.
I won't be quick to say, well, the friendship did help because it was like, he already knew most things about me before we got married. At least he already knew that I was what? He knew all my bad behaviors. Let me put it that way. Yeah. He knew that I could come and eat up. I don't scatter, you know that you're the one that scatters. He knew that I could come to his room and eat up all his okra soup and not wash the plates. And I go back to my room and I sleep. And if he comes to see me, he's not going to get the same. You don't always get that same treatment. Yeah. So at least.
And it wasn't a thing.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you for all those nice okra soup that you were making those days.
Yeah, so then I used to cook and invite the ladies, including her, to come to my room. And
so we were many. Good to know. Yeah, but imagine, so you were doing all that then, but eventually when we got married, all that disappeared.
But I cook once
and
in a while.
up to now, you never told me what happened.
I cook once in a while.
What changed? No, you cook now, but then.
Stopped,
when we're still in Nigeria,
it stopped.
Everything ceased.
Interesting.
Yeah, everything just ceased. All that jollof rice, okra he was making.
You know how guys say it, when you are going to hunt, so you do everything you need to,
Were you hunting? Sorry, hold it, hold on. I didn't know. So then, were you hunting?
Not
because
exactly.
I didn't think you were hunting. To me, we were just in school friends from home, doing our best.
But really, I used to enjoy cooking at that time. I used to try different things. I remember when I was growing up at home, I wasn't cooking for a long time because I had sisters.
Yeah.
And so when I was going for the youth service, I told my mom I needed to start cooking.
Okay.
So I started paying attention. I got back to the kitchen. I'd observe and all that. And my whole idea was I didn't want to have to depend on anybody for my feeding.
Good though.
So I didn't want to.
Good though. I'm very happy to hear. I wish that all men can be like
so
you.
I
that wouldn't want to
intentionally start
depend on us
for
their food.
Even when I was 7, I would cook and invite
ladies
to come and eat.
So ladies were your interesting. That's a new discovery. I'm just hearing that for the first time after 14 years. I was cooking and inviting many ladies to come and check out
my
come and check out his food.
My friends, my close circle of friends. So back to what we were saying, we were talking about our journey so far. How
it's part of the journey, how we
started.
So
fast
forward to
the wedding plan. Do you remember how we sat down to plan our wedding?
Yeah, that was a very interesting one because that was the first time we saw that we could actually do things together.
Yeah.
We were our own project managers for our wedding. We sat down. I remember we had a lot of meetings where we drew up the plans.
We had an Excel sheet where we put a detailed plan of what we wanted to do. So some of the crazy things we did, we decided to import our wedding card
Yes.
from China. And,
But
yeah.
So but something happened. We were trying to get a good card.
Yeah.
And we were at the Lagos market.
Yes.
We combed the whole market where they said they had those wedding cards,
Yeah.
where they usually get those cards. But we couldn't find
Yeah,
what we wanted.
the good ones were overly expensive. The ones we liked. So, and the ones...
No, it wasn't just even about the expense.
Yeah.
It was about the fact that they didn't have enough.
Yeah,
Remember?
then also, yeah,
They didn't have enough the quantity.
Yeah,
The
there was
quantity and the
something,
wordings too. We just had issues with a lot of things.
Some custom made stuff. So
And I had a crazy idea. I said, let's import this.
And
I had never done that. I had never done an importation before.
Yeah.
I just said, let's explore Alibaba. I think it was
AliExpress.
AliExpress.
Yeah, AliExpress. So we went to AliExpress.
Yeah.
And you contacted a
lady, a card dealer.
Yeah.
I contacted a lot of dealers, but someone was very serious. And I think, were you worried at some point that what if these people were fraud or scam or something like that? Because it was just a gamble.
But eventually, where you got response, you got some.
Yeah, but this is China. I hadn't done importation
before.
And this was our wedding plan. So it was gambling. I was just gambling away, but it did work out. We were very surprised. We
got the cards. Then I had to now go print on them.
Yeah.
I met printers and I printed on the cards.
Yeah.
And at a budget cost, we were able to get the quality, get the custom design we wanted.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And got what we wanted. So got them in the quantity we also wanted. So that was a very good one. That was a very good one.
Yeah.
And
end to end, the whole project planning we handled it by ourselves.
Yes.
Remember we visited over a couple of times when we're trying to search for our hotel.
Both hotel and then hall.
The hall.
The hall as well.
Yeah. So we were working together. So it wasn't that relationship where there was a boss. This boss trying to dictate for
everybody.
For everyone. So we were working together from the beginning. And that helped. Because after the wedding, all the things that we started doing, we just continued, just like we had the wedding plan.
Yeah.
Things continued that way. For most of the things that we would want to do, we would naturally call for a meeting because I love meetings.
I remember we had our honeymoon in London.
Okay.
That was in 2011. And for me, I'm from a much humbler background. If I put it, I never traveled outside the country before. So, and when we talked about the honeymoon, she said we should go to London. I've never been to London, and you know what it costs to go to London. And I said yes, let's go. And we worked together, and I provided what was needed, and then eventually we went to London. She handled the whole. We went for the interviews, got our visas and everything. She managed all that bit. All that bit was hard. I worry.
I still managed it today.
Yeah. Yes. I know.
I still managed it today. Not to pass it on. We both have our strengths.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the travels, I think I handle.
Yeah, she does travels
because I've been doing that for myself.
Does the detailed documentations, you give it to her.
I don't want to remember what happened the only time I asked you to do it, so let's just not go there. So but you're better at the planning of the activities of
events and
of the things that we do. Those ones I'm totally clueless on them. So all that was how we were working. We've always believed in working together. Yeah. One of the things that has really worked for us that I want to really point out, because when I interact with other women in a similar relationship, they have that relationship where it seems like the man is the boss. They don't have a say in their marriage. They can't share their own ideas. It feels like the man feels like he's the one that has to have the final say. Yeah. I don't think that's what we have here. There's no one who has a final say. So whenever we want to have a plan or when we're trying to look at a project, we start by researching. We don't even assume that anybody knows it all. We go through research. I remember when we were planning to have
our baby
in the US. I had some ideas, but we went into research, proper research. We started looking for people who had done it before. And that was how we stumbled upon a certain lady. I can't even remember how we found that.
But before that time, we got the contacts of hospitals in the United States.
Yeah.
We got, the medical doctors, nurses, and we called them. We made calls. I had my diary that I had a list of, and I was making calls. So it's all about planning. It's all
Yeah,
about
planning
That's
and
one of
working
the things to
together.
do.
Yeah, so I will really give it to
Us.
Che.
Us. Yeah.
Well, I want to speak on the side as a woman relating with a man, because this relationship has not been that relationship where we have a boss. We have a boss who decides everything, and that has really helped. Okay, because I found out that in a lot of places where you have that boss mentality, a lot of times the man may not be right. He may not even have all the information, and before you know it, it gets everyone into trouble.
Yeah.
And everyone has to get into trouble. But where everyone comes with an open mind, I really must commend you on that. So you don't have that feeling of it must be me that would have the final say. You come with an open mind. We look at all the options and we go with the best option. Yeah. And that's what has helped us till today. And another thing that I would also commend you on is the fact that you don't run that home where everyone knows what you're doing in your home, because I heard that complaint from a lot of women where everyone, I don't want to use the word outsiders, but it's outsiders. Yeah, outsider is anything beyond the woman and the man. Yeah, so other people, usually in the man's family, get to know everything happening in their home. It seems like everybody's running that home with you.
Making decisions.
Yes, making decisions. That has never been my experience here. And I think that's highly commendable because there are very few men who do this, So, yeah. I hand it over to you to continue. Yeah, so these are the things that have helped, because I think that in a lot of places where that was the practice, you tend to complicate your problems. Issues that could have been resolved between the two of you, then you now have 4 or 5 persons
with their own interest and all that, and
before you know it, everything is messed up.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to two people who are matured working together, especially two people who share similar values.
Yeah.
Working together towards a goal. We don't have. This is a case of 2 heads are better than one. Unlike places where it is 1 head that is running, I know 2 heads will always be better than one. And where 2 people are working together, they're just stronger and they go further when they work together. So, are we making this a short one or?
Yeah, we're just talking generally how it's been so far. You already know that we homeschooled our children at some point. So the children were in schools, or when we reviewed
what they were doing
in school, I think that was with Chinemere first, because he was the one who started going to school.
I also joined. They were both in school at the time.
Yeah, but when we started that discussion,
I
think it was just Chinemere who was going to school then. I think, because Amara just joined. So we were just in a place of discussing some of the gaps that we noticed with the school, and we were still talking about it. We hadn't made decisions, but I think it was that video we watched, Imafido.
Yeah, we watched
Prof Imafido, when he talked about his experience with
raising his
autistic
children.
His experience with autistic children, and he talked about homeschooling,
Yeah.
and we didn't know much about homeschooling. So, like I said, we went into research. So anything we want to go into, we just start by researching it. And we saw that a lot of schools abroad were homeschooling their children.
A lot of families,
abroad, they were homeschooling their children. And we searched in Nigeria. I don't think any family. I'm sure we should be.
I saw a few families that did homeschool, but most of them were people who came from outside the country.
Yeah,
so
returnees.
Returnees from outside.
Yes.
So, but back home, it's it's very strange
we didn't concept. So we didn't have an example.
Yeah.
To follow, and we just decided to be the example ourselves, and we just jumped right into it. Adopting some of the curriculum of the US and the UK. I think we were using the US, the UK, and the Nigerian curriculum.
We did some sort of major.
And we just started. Everybody thought we were crazy, because truly we are.
Yes. Truly
we are, really.
Someone said is it because of money? Are you
Yeah,
trying to say
a lot of
money,
people thought we didn't have, we
know,
couldn't
and
afford
all
to keep our
that,
kids in the
you
school,
know,
but they didn't
just
even
say that.
realize that homeschooling was more
Right.
expensive. Homeschooling
Yeah.
was more expensive than
Yes.
putting our children in school.
Because of homeschool, we had to make sure that we had
Internet?
electricity. So out of 24 hours, we were having at least up to 20 hours of electricity.
Yeah.
So at some point, we had to mean running our generator, around the clock, to make sure we have electricity for the kids' classes. We had broadband internet, not just anyhow internet, broadband internet that was working. And then in there, we had a classroom. A room was converted into a classroom for them.
Yeah.
They had their TV displays and all that, and they were using online resources to learn. So it was a lot.
Yeah, and eventually, remember that we plugged into one program in the UK.
Yeah.
Where we were paying from Nigeria.
And we were paying from Nigeria.
Yeah,
Them register them in a program just to expand their
curriculum
and the social aspects and broaden their scope. So they were in a class with kids from the UK.
Yeah, but there was something homeschooling did for us and for the children. We found out that the regular school system tends to put your child in a mold.
Yeah,
so,
limits your child.
Yeah, what the homeschooling did for us was it gave us the opportunity to understand our children, understand their abilities, their strengths, and their weaknesses, which the regular school system is not going to do for you. Yeah. So the regular school system is going to put your child in science, they expose them to what they have. Yeah, but because we were working closely with our children, we could see where their strengths were. You remember we had to expose where we found out that Chinemere had very strong and high analytical skills. Yeah. We didn't just discover it by watching him. Yeah. Recall that we had to, we signed up to one program, an Indian program, remember? Yeah, there was this model he had to complete. He went through some psychometric tests and all of that helped us to find some of these things. And also remember that when Amara started homeschooling, Amara hated the school system. Yes. He didn't like
he struggled
writing.
With the traditional
was that writing or he didn't like writing. So because of him, we had to design. We had to design an approach for him to learn. Because imagine if we had left Amara in the regular school system, they would bring back results of failures, poor performance every term because Amara simply rebelled against the regular school system. It was because of him that we introduced the videos, the YouTubes, you remember? Because when we started and we were just using the blackboards, telling him to write, Amara refused.
He just didn't like it.
Not just that he didn't like it, he actually refused.
This points to a lot of families that have children who struggle, whose performance in school, whose academic performance is not up to speed what they want. I have interacted with lots of children. I've seen very intelligent children who are not performing well in school. And I know that the problem is not those children. Please, and I see parents who say, blame the children. The problem is not those children. The problem is that our educational system is a stereotype. They just get the kids and put everybody in one particular way of learning. Now, if you expose that child to other ways of learning, you see amazing things. You see them learn. And so that's what we emphasize in everything we do. We want to emphasize that we expose children to multiple ways of learning, not just blackboard. We use YouTube to teach them. We use Khan Academy. So, and today they are back in the school system, right?
Yeah,
they are high flyers. They are always topping their classes.
So they didn't really miss anything.
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't miss anything. And because we were homeschooling them, it also gave us the opportunity to expose them to other ways of learning. Recall that we had to take them through some travels at some point because we were totally in control. So we decide when we want to make a trip outside the country, because for us, traveling is some form
of learning and exposure.
Remember what happened to Amara?
When I traveled to the US, and when he came back, he was a changed person.
He had been traveling before then, because he was
younger.
He was very small. He was about 1+ heading to 2. Then Chinemere was the one traveling most of the times, and there was this trip I was to do with Chinemere, and you felt that Amara should go. I didn't want Amara to go because I felt Amara is a citizen, he will always travel. But you insisted.
That he should go. So.
And it seemed like that trip unlocked something in Amara.
He came back and he was
became a storyteller.
He was telling stories. He was the one who was narrating every detail of how the journey experience and all that. We just saw a different Tamara from
the
that day on.
storytelling side of him unlocked after that trip.
Yeah, and we were very happy that we allowed him
we
to
made
go
that
on that
decision.
journey. Yeah, and again, because of we were homeschooling them, we introduced them to computer programming.
Yeah.
That's coding for kids. And fast forward today, they are both, advanced in computer programming. The older one has a certificate from Johns Hopkins University. He took an online course on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and passed it. So he has a certificate from that university. And both of them are currently taking a 100-level course in Harvard University in computer science. So, and they started it when they were still in primary school.
Yeah.
And it was thanks to homeschooling that we were able to do this. I guess we'll pause now. Let me check if the phone has run down or not.
Okay.
Is it recording?
Is it recording?
Yes, it is recording. So. Okay. So.
Yeah, so homeschooling done. Yeah, so basically most of the things that we have been doing, has been that structured way of doing things. We've already said enough about our involvement with Dr. Sunday. Yeah, we were doing our thing in the way we understood, but being exposed to his content and materials really
it was an eye opener. It was an eye opener.
Gave us, a new mindset and attitudes to work and to life.
We still consider it one of the best things that happened to our union, our marriage.
Yeah.
Because
the union was heading for a crash.
You said so.
It was. It
so.
was. Well, yeah, there were lots of issues. Yeah. So it was going down.
From the teachings of Dr. Sunday Adelaja, we got tools that we needed to, live life. For me, it was an eye opener. I just saw things from a different perspective. A lot of the things that young men struggle in relationships, trying to compete with their wives, trying to, force submission, she's not submitting to me and all that. I saw that if one actually gets things right and you are doing the right things, you're leading right, it becomes a lot easier to follow. So he just changed his materials, his teachings actually just changed my whole mindset around marriage. And so let me give you one thing he said. One example, he said that when he married his wife, and the wife was trying to do all the cooking and all that, and he said, sorry, I know you love to cook, but you are an intelligent person, you're a smart person, there's a lot more that you can do other than cooking. So I don't just want to bring you into come into my life and you just become a cook or a cleaner and all that. So what he did was they worked together. They got a professional cook to cook for them, and they will stock it up in the fridge. And what he was trying to do is to make the wife's life easier. All the things that weigh people down, especially the ladies who do domestic things in the house. He was trying to reduce all that burden. And by doing that, he freed her time, and she had time to do much more important things, And this is in contrast to what we have traditionally, even in families where you marry somebody who is a professor, a doctorate degree, a doctor. People still want them to go to the kitchen to cook to show that they are they are wise or they are loyal or they are virtuous. People just want to, because it's just the tradition, you just want to, and by doing that, you distract them from the more important things, because you believe that the traditional role of a woman is to go and cook in the kitchen, So when I saw that, I started making every effort to support my wife, in the kitchen, in things in the home, so that I can, reduce the burden. When we share the burden, we become much more productive.
Yeah, so what we did, when we were in Nigeria, we weren't really doing lots of cooking. So we had nannies who were doing all of that. Okay, so that we could use our time. Yeah. Like I explained, we were homeschooling our kids, but we weren't the ones teaching, but we were the ones doing the brain work, organizing it. So imagine that we had to keep running around in the kitchen, in the market, and all of that. What time would we have had to get the best result out of the children? So some of those things, you're talking about was what give some of the results that we have today
Yeah.
in the children that we have and in our lives too. So we put our time into more productive things, into reading, into personal development.
Yeah.
That's what we do with our time. And for the mundane work, we outsource it and pay people to do it. Yeah. So so those are some of the things that his presence achieved in our life, and made our relationship better. Yeah, he made our relationship better.
A lot better.
I can't even start talking about the gains of that relationship. We're still reaping the benefits still today.
Yeah.
Fast forward to relocation. So at what point did we start considering relocation?
I think it was a very long time ago. We had tried in 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
We almost relocated to Canada, and just at the last minute things didn't work out, So after that we sort of chilled.
Yeah, we relaxed a bit because we felt we were getting comfortable in Nigeria.
Yeah, we felt we were okay, but we had that wake up call when there was this inflation. I think which year was that? There was this inflation cycle. Things got a bit tough and difficult.
Okay, for me, which year was this? Sorry.
I'm trying to remember, but it was during Goodluck Jonathan's time. There was
we started looking at Canada again.
Yeah,
that was when
we looking at Canada
started
again.
Preparing for IELTS.
Yeah,
because the one we had written had expired. Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, that's true. We started looking at that, and
then after that time, things got better again, and the income increased.
We didn't relax. We
had it in the pipeline, but we were just asking questions, taking our time and all that. It wasn't like desperate.
Yeah.
But then, then when the experience I had when I was in my organization where I was working in a financial institution, we had this economic. We had a committee or a session where someone who was in the President Buhari's economic planning committee would chair the session. His name was Bismarck Iwane, and he would analyze the economy, make projections, and then retrospectively look at his previous projections to see how true they were. Yeah. So after those sessions, there was just this thing that was always obvious, that we were defending the currency with foreign reserve, and it was not sustainable.
Yeah.
There was a point that there will be a time when it would be unsustainable to continue along that path. And I looked at all the indices. I just said, no, we're heading to some very not so nice time in the country. And I was like, how can we, make this travel possible? And we started looking at Canada again, then we're now trying to explore different pathways in Canada. Looking at SN, what was that? Those provincial pathways. Programs. Yeah. Then eventually the UK opened up this dependency, education pathway.
And we decided to take advantage of that. And the funny thing was that when we were coming to the UK, we were still thinking of going to Canada. Yes. We were still seriously thinking about going to Canada. We were just like, let's just take the opportunity of UK for our final destination. And we used to remind ourselves that our final destination. Yeah, our final destination is Canada, but I don't think we're still going to Canada. We're happy now. We're happy where we are. We're not going to Canada.
Yeah.
We're not going to Canada. It's not now. Yeah, so that was a good move. And at this point, I think I would like you to touch on because I didn't get that resistance, from him about relocation, or like what I hear a lot of women complain today. A lot of women are held back in Nigeria by partners who have a lot of concerns about relocation. They feel that relocation gives the woman extra powers, extra wings over them. So what do you have to say about that? So have I developed any wings since we came? In addition to the wings I had before.
So I just keep hearing men who don't want to travel because they believe that when they travel, their women will have more powers and all that. I don't understand what that means. For me, we are working together. We were doing this thing together, so I don't understand what it means by they will have more power than you as and they are human beings. So it is for guys who have skeleton in their cupboard, and they know what they mean by that. But if you know who you married, I'm not sure that should be a consideration at all. And when I look at those guys who made those decisions, I don't understand it. How would you sacrifice the future of your children? How would you sacrifice a better life, better opportunity for you and your family over some imagination, some hustle in the air
imagination
that you're hearing probably from your relatives who have, who have little information, or you're hearing from the streets. It still baffles me how people would make such decisions. And I've seen some who their wives insisted and they eventually traveled, and they are the ones who they are still thanking their spouses for traveling.
There are lots of testimonies like that.
Sometimes men need to allow. Men need to allow listen to their wives.
Sometimes or all the time.
All the time, yeah.
All the time.
Really.
If you
listen to their
recognize
wives
that you're
and
working
hear
with a partner,
the voice of reason. Let everybody just air your view and explain why you are saying what you are saying.
Yeah.
It helps things become clearer. So you don't have to be making decisions based on some presumptions that are actually false, and making far-reaching decisions that will impact people's lives negatively.
So what has been your experience?
So
what can you say to the men? Since you came relocated, we came here in October 2021. We haven't really said what happened when we came. Some of the things that happened.
I guess in another video
we'll
go into detail because that one is just a whole lot to talk about our Jawa journey.
Hustle.
Our Jawa hustle. It's a different stuff. But it's been
what can you say about
I've got the best of support. I remember when we left our jobs, my contract ended, hers did, and we came out and I wanted to go back and maybe pick up a survival job, and she said no, that we need to focus on getting the kind of jobs you want, the kind of jobs you were doing. And she said no, we have to looking for a job is a full-time job, so no survival job. So we worked together, pooled our resources together, and we sustained ourselves for almost 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months.
A couple without jobs in the UK. But the good thing was that eventually you landed the kind of jobs you wanted, and even better jobs.
Yeah.
So that's thanks to a very supportive partner.
Yeah, and also thanks to people working together, because the whole essence, of this video is to encourage couples to work together. Because I think that people struggle more when one person feels that the decision is for them to make, and you sideline your partner. So you tend to struggle more. But when you share those challenges and both of you are working on them, I think that you are able to overcome any obstacle, because we have really met some interesting obstacles in this journey, but we have overcome all of them. And I think today you asked me a question that, what if we find ourselves in that situation? What did I say?
And the response that we've been there already.
Yeah,
we've done that. We have the template, so
the fear of it is
no longer there.
It's totally there. So we've done it before. We will repeat what we did. We know exactly what we did, and we will get better results. The interesting thing was that each time we did the time that we did that, we got a better result than the previous one. We got better jobs, better opportunity than the previous one.
Exactly.
So if we find ourselves there, just know that
we're getting better.
Better one.
Getting better.
So there's no fear, there's no concern about that. So I think
this
we
is a
should
good place
be rounding
to wrap it
up for now.
And we'll be coming out from time to time to share more, on our experience with you.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.